This is Python Poker, and today we have hit our milestone. We have turned $50 into $1,000 on WPT Gold. So first of all, that's a huge milestone when you have the 4 digits. Something different, a little having 4 digits in the bankroll, which is great. So we are now in this video going to give a deep dive into the Excel spreadsheet here. So like I said before, on WPT Gold, there's no way, at least that I know of, maybe if you know, you can help me, to put the hands into Poker Tracker. So I've just inputted all of my hands since not my hands, but my stats after a session since, well, we'll start here, going back to November of 2025, where our bankroll was $50, up until, well, as of yesterday, we hit the $1,000 threshold. And of course, it went down a little bit, but we did hit 1,000. We played a session, and had a, we went down. Actually, that should have been 1,998. So I am pedantic here, so I'm just gonna make that. So you can have some input errors whenever you're just hand typing the values in there. But yep. So we're going to do a little deep dive. And this tab here is just my 10NL Ante game data. And we'll go up to the top. So I did at the top in January of 2026, I did try out 10NL after I was playing the 2NL Ante game for a little bit. And I did okay, nothing too crazy, but this is the month of January, so the sum was negative $30. I was down 3 buy-ins. I kind of did like a 3 buy-in shot and didn't work out, so I just regrinded playing 2NL up until this point, April 5th of 2026. So in that gap between the basically February until April, I did play a 2NL Ante game on the WPT Gold site, and I also, like you saw in a previous video, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but if you didn't, check out some of those previous vlogs where I did transpose most of my bankroll to ACR. And I was pretty much break even, honestly, on ACR. I played 5NL, I played 10NL, it's going back and forth. I was doing 2NL, that kind of thing. The reason for the ACR was because I wanted to get some hand histories in a database, because I did this boot camp with Ascend Poker, who has a YouTube channel. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. He has lots of videos. He has live streams of his bankroll challenge, which I've been watching, of course, and taking notes and studying the play, because the boot camp that he offered, basically in those live streams, he kind of showcases most of those boot camp skills. Of course, he doesn't say the meat of the boot camp, of course, because some of it's valuable material and content. So, which I've been studying recently as well, because when you do the boot camp, he gives you, at least in the last boot camp, we got the videos and we got the notes. So I've been restudying those, but his play matches the boot camp. So I watched those streams. So check out his channel if you haven't done so already. But yeah, so I did do the boot camp, and I think it started in December. It ended around February, March. I don't know the exact date, but somewhere around there. And I've been using those strategies that, as the main strategies of my bet sizes on flops, some exploits on certain situations, certain nodes. So that's been very helpful. For me, knowing a standard size of a bet on a flop, a turn, and a river helps me for value when I'm trying to make some, of course, more profit, right? But also when I'm playing against an opponent and they're not using the right sizes, I can kind of understand and help categorize them as a recreational or regular player in the certain pools. And of course, you can look at the stats at the VPIP and PFR to help narrow that down a little bit further to help us define who we're playing against. So just because before the boot camp, I was basically just guessing in a way, using standard half pot sizes, this and that, not polarizing when I should be polarizing, not understanding if my opponents are polarizing, just making some pretty standard mistakes. I also did coaching on Discord. I met an individual, Dave 123. I think it's 1234556, but that's the person's username if you want to check him out on Discord. Very helpful for coaching. Did about 2 coaching sessions, I think it was about 3 hours in total, maybe 3.5, 4 hours, something along those lines. With Dave, we just went over my live play, and he gave me some tips and on some sizes, pre-flop sizes, especially because the Ante game, he helped me with my sizes on the Ante game, which is a lot different than the 6 max normal sizes. And he's actually suggested that I just move up to 10-0 instead of playing the 2-0 Ante game. And that was a great advice. Of course, we are now at the $1,000 bankroll, which is great. And we're going to be moving up to 20-0 starting today. But if you look at this spreadsheet, and again, this video is going to be a little longer. I'm not going to do any poker. I'm just going to talk about the process and to talk about this spreadsheet here. But before that, I was going to mention too, during the boot camp, one of the reasons why I went to the ACR site is because I had all my hands in a poker tracker, and during the boot camp, Ascend Poker offers database reviews to kind of shows you some more of your leaks and some more strategies. And he definitely helped me locate some additional leaks due to that database review. And I have been implementing those, which I think has increased my success as well and my win rate. Yeah. And so thanks for those folks to help out. But at the end of the day too, I'm going to be kind of going off the script for the most part, just talking. This experience from November until today in May, it's been a whirlwind because the amount of volume to play 4 tables, and of course you can only play 4 tables to get to our current hand total. And our current hand total is about 91,000 hands. I had about half of 2-0 Ante and half of the 10-0 Ante game with that subset of hands. Of course, on ACR, I played about 80,000 hands there. Pretty much break even, just doing mixture of stakes there, 2-0, 5-0, 10-0. Actually, the 10-0, I was actually slightly winning on that site. 5-0 is pretty much break even. 2-0, pretty much break even on that site. That was around in February when I switched that over. But since April, I've been back to the WPT Gold site. So from like end of February till April-ish, I was doing the ACR site. So now if we look at this spreadsheet, we have, it's a very basic spreadsheet with what I define I'm just trying to do the simplest way possible to collect the data. So just put the date, my bankroll at the start, bankroll at the end. I just calculate the profit. You just subtract the two fields. BBs, I turn the profit into BBs. Time in, time out, and subtraction of the time in, time out, the time variance, hands. So I do 4 tables of the WPT gold site, and I estimate that's about 250 hands an hour as a conservative estimate, about a little over 60 hands. Maybe it's a little higher, maybe it's a little less. I'm just trying to pick pretty much round numbers to be consistent. And I have an error category. Errors go from 0 to 1, 1 being a huge blunder, 0 being no errors, and 0.25 is basically a very small error. Maybe there's a sizing error, maybe I overcall one of the streets a little bit, that kind of thing. And then I have a 0.5 error, which is basically just a medium-sized error. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, I overcalled a larger amount on a turn, overplayed my equity, that kind of thing. So as we can see, of course, there's a win rate, and that's the win rate of the total hand sample, about 8.4 BBs per 100, and that's including the previous and all the total hand volume at the 10NL ante game from January and up until this point here, where we are today. And the total hands, this includes the WPT gold hands and the ACR hands, so it's about 172,000 hands, which is small. I do realize that. You hear people online saying that they have millions of hands, which is great, but this is my total at this point since November. Of course, I played before, not seriously, on other sites, so I maybe have another 120,000 hands of losing poker before I did this documentation. So maybe I'm more around 250, 300,000 hands of online poker. But for this database here, in this subset of hands is from November. So there you go. And this bankroll graph is just when I started in April. So I put 622. That was my total bankroll from ACR and the 2NL ante games. Basically what I made at 2NL ante, 5NL ante, and all the other stakes up until April on ACR. So that was my total bankroll when I started. So we did reach the threshold here, and that was on 5/22 as of yesterday. Of course, we had a session where we lost a couple buy-ins, but you know, it swings like that in some cases. I have notes here for my errors. So if I have an error, I didn't really write my notes a lot, but so I started documenting my errors in my notes. So a one size error is here in this case, I didn't pay attention very well. So maybe I wasn't focused on the hand, or I was, maybe not understanding that a spot was multi-way, or if it was head-to-head. But that's just a real blunder where I need to be focusing at all times, and that's something I can control. That's a huge error, so that's why it's in red at a size of 1. Some other errors, I called a re-raise in an under-bluff line or a polarized line. So I'm trying to be better at calling re-raises in certain situations. I'm not going to say I'm never going to call a re-raise, but just given the action, it's when I have a note where it says called re-raise, that's in a certain situation where it's definitely a blunder to call a re-raise. Overplayed equity, didn't pay attention, range opponents better, BSTI. If you watch Charlie Carroll, you'll know what BSTI means. But BSTI means I needed to BSTI or start BSTIing a little bit more to get more value, and that has been working since this point. At the beginning of May, I've been thinking about BSTI a lot for my value on the river. Okay, sometimes there's variance in play. If my total is down a lot and I have a small size error and it's down by $20, I just put variance there because there's a certain situation. Maybe you get it in with aces and versus kings, and they hit a set of kings, something like that. But it happens, whatever. Short stacked, started week. I'm just trying to see if there's any new ones not focused. Thought it was, yes, another one not focused. Bad bluff. Small errors though. I'm just trying to document what we call hope poker. So hope poker again is that situation where it's like a Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger mental model idea where you're just hoping that something happens, and instead of just looking at the data, looking at the evidence, looking at the variables, and making the best rational decision, or based off deductive reasoning, hope poker is just like, yeah, maybe I'm good here. Of course, you never know if you're good or not, but you're putting it in a category of a higher probability of being not good. So maybe your equity is like 49, but 49 or lower versus a majority equity percentage of playing a situation, and you're just hoping to win in that situation. You just call, that kind of thing. That's hope poker. So those are some of the errors. So we look at the sums here, 164 sessions since basically we started there in January. Most of the sessions, again, it's been since April, but that 164 sessions means 1 hour block sessions where we have 4 tables of 1 hour sessions, and that helps me focus in certain situations where I can be hyper focused and try to be on my A game as best as possible in those 1 hour blocks, and then just do a data dump kind of thing and just reset, refocus. Now there's some situations where I go more than an hour, maybe if my table's good, that kind of thing. But most of the time I just do these 1 hour breaking points just so I can be refocused and refreshed. So that's 164 hours you can think of. And so average, the bottom is just the average bankroll since the beginning, includes all of them. So that includes all the sum. So the profit here, 10-0 ante is 337. Total hands, about 40,000 hands, 10-0 ante game. And errors, so basically it sums up all the error weightings that I have. I have 51 total sum weights, and I divide that by my total sessions, and it gives me my error rate. So about 31% of sessions. You can think of it as there's an error, which in this situation, I'm just writing 0.25 for the most part as my errors. Because I know I'm going to make small errors, but I'm just like hedging it to 0.25 because I know I'm not going to ever have an error-free session. So the limit of my error rate would always be closer to 25% instead of 0, if that makes sense. So I'm still, my goal is to get this, well, actually, I can't get this down anymore because I'm joining the 20NL. I'm going to do a spreadsheet on 20NL data. But so this is like my error rate here for this snapshot at 10-0 ante game. Yeah, 31%. I was trying to get below 30%, but it is what it is. And total hands, again, we talked about that before. So here's the graph. This is since the 622 graph. I say 622 because I mean $622, and that's around the start of April. So this is, here we go. We have the hit the max of 1,000 here. And of course, there's a little dip at the end, a little below 1,000, but it happens. And so I'll just go over like the shape of the graph real quick, just to give you an idea. This is when we started, had a nice little upswing, and then we had a huge downswing. Huge blunders. Let's look at the chart and see where that section was, so we can kind of see what our idea was here. And I think, yeah. So here we go. The sum of this downswing was 10, actually 11 buy-in downswing, and in about in 4 hours or 4 sessions, we lost 11 buy-ins, which was crazy. Before that, we were kind of playing pretty well. I say playing pretty well, but as you can see the errors, it wasn't all green. There's lots of errors in here, medium size, large size errors. So even though we're getting some profit, we weren't really playing our A game. We had stretches of A game here, but not really. In this section right here, look at all these errors, including to this sum. Okay, just look at that. Oh, look at this. So this was the peak of our downswing, and that was just to be honest, you know, if you're looking to see what it no, I'm not saying what it takes, like I'm like trying to show you that something I'm very good. I'm just still learning, and if you're watching this video, I'm going to try to help you if you're along the same journey, just show you what it's really like. But this was a 20 buy-in downswing in the span of 2 days. So that's the point where it's like, oh gosh, maybe I need to go back down the 2-L Ante game. Maybe I'm not good enough at this. And then you gotta just I had to refocus and rethink what am I doing? What can I do differently? How can I be a better player? Because really, at the end of the day, it's all about what you put into it. Because you're the one pushing the buttons. You're the one making the decisions to make to the bankroll is basically you, or be me in a sense. It's just the sum of your decisions times the amount of money that you're betting on your decisions is expected value for the most part. So at that stretch, that was about the middle of April. So there you go. That was that. So we eventually fought through it. Trying to focus on some more A game. So we had a nice stretch of A game play after that, and the sum, we got half the buy-ins back, about 12 buy-ins back. And then of course, there was another stretch where we have lost some more. So, but that's okay, that happens. I'm not gonna say that when we play, we should always expect to be an upswing. But that was the swings I was facing. Dude, I think it was basically due to my inconsistent play of my A game, and I'll talk about that more in a second. I'm just not going to harp on that a little bit more. But we'll get to this point where I think this was at this point here at the end of April. So in the previous YouTube video, you saw my update where for the month of April, I was profitable at 10L Ante games. I did get my profit up to winning after that 20 buy-in stretch, and that was honestly a win for me. I got getting to break even to slightly winning at that point was great, you know, for me at that point. So then at the start of May, I decided to try something else, because whenever I'm playing and I'm not being in a situation where I'm trying to improve, we're all trying to get better at this game. And if you have to iterate and you have to think within yourself and think about how you can improve, because it's really, at the end of the day, we log in, we're responsible, no one forces us to log in and play. It's on us to own our decisions. And so I was at a point where I was like, what can I do different? What's going on here? Then I looked at my errors, and my errors I can control. My errors, the reason why I say I can control my errors, because you can see some of my notes of my errors. They're not like technical GTO or solver errors or that kind of stuff. It's more of a philosophy, psychological, overcalling certain nodes, not focusing, not fully ranging my opponents at all times, which can be GTO, which can be strategy, but those are things I can control. And in my system, I'm supposed to understand a node where if I'm getting a re-raise, I need to understand if it's a fish, if it's a reg, what's their VPIP, what's their PFR, what's their bet sizes, how do they play the previous node, what subset of their range do they have at the river. So when they get to that point at the end, I should be able to fold and not be too emotionally attached to a hand. And one of the things in the boot camp, the first week of the boot camp, Ascend pointed out that, calling a bluff or making a bluff is technically going to be 0 EV decision in the long run. Maybe I'm not quoting this correctly, but if you think about it, I didn't realize that. It's a very important thing where you don't have to put more money in the pot in a certain situation. There's no sunk cost. That's a sunk cost fallacy where you think that I have this much money invested. I need to call this decision in order to get my investment that I have in the decision. But on the future node on the river, whenever you're having a decision, in some situations, the situation is going to be 0 EV. And if you make a big error, like 100 BB mistake, you have to think about it in terms of your win rate. So this is something that really locked home for me, just to focus on my errors a little bit better, is let's say your win rate is like 5 BBs per 100, and you make a 100 BB error. You're going to have hundreds of hands in order to play at your current win rate to get that error back before you can even make a profit. So that's something very helpful. So we'll continue here. So in the month of May, I decided to, first of all, figure out what my maximum streak was of error-free play. And it was around 7. And so my first goal was, okay, let me just try to maximize my streak of error-free play. And 7 meant 7 hours, by the way, of 4 tables of error-free play. So we did beat that streak on this point where we had 11 hours in a row of error-free play. And as you can see, it wasn't all 100% profitable, but we were still down, but I was happy with my decisions and I was happy to play my A game, because there's certain situations where you're invested in a pot and you can lose, variance, that kind of thing. But I can only control my errors. I can't control variance, that kind of thing. So as you can see, then we started having more error-free days, and I'm really happy that I haven't had any number one size weightings errors since May. I have broken my streaks with some errors, in this case overplayed equity, that kind of thing. And I have another note where it says lose faster. That's something I also started in May, where I'm not going to hold on to a hand in a certain situations and certain nodes. I'm going to lose faster or fold faster in certain nodes where it's not profitable, in my opinion. So we had some longer stretches, error-free sessions, broken by not one size weighted errors, 0.5 moderate error sizes. And then we had some more streaks as well. But so since May, since we started this new idea, I'm just going to sum all the profit from May till this point forward. That's about May 23rd, and that was about $346. So that's the majority of our profit here. And I think that is, of course, that there has been a sun run, and you're going to have sun runs, and you're going to have break-even stretches. But even in a sun run, when we're making A-game decisions, I think I'll make more profit because I'm really focused on the nodes, and I'm really focused on the decisions, and I'm not distracted. So I can maximize my profit more than if you're not fully focused on your autopiloting. All right. So yeah, so then the win rate, 8.4 BBs per 100. That's including going back to January as well. So we're pretty happy with that. We did reach the $1,000, and of course, like we said, it's a little lower than 1,000 now, just to be fair and transparent. Here's the data right here. But at this point, I think the best next step is to move to 20 NL ante and try it out, see what happens. If we need to move back down, we can move back down. It doesn't matter. But we're gonna do that moving forward. Also, during Ascend Poker has this live stream on his channel where he did a bankroll challenge from 5 NL up to 50 NL, and he documented all the steps in his videos there, so you can check that out if you want to. But he did 40,000 hands at every stake, and if he was winning, he moved up. That was his strategy. And so as we can see here, I think I'm going to follow. Of course, I have the bankroll number already, so that's going to push me to the 20 NL. I have enough buy-ins to play conservatively at 20 NL, but also here my 40,000 hands does match that threshold, and I'm winning up to this point. So given that, I think it's time to move up. I was thinking about just playing, because I'm at 91,000 hands on WPT Gold. I was thinking about getting to the 100,000 hand and then doing a video, this kind of breakdown video. But I think at this point, I'm just gonna invest my time into the 20 NL and see what happens. But so that was this tab. Now the combined bankroll. This is the combined bankroll graph from the starting point at $50, and at the point here, early in the channel, we're doing one table of 10 NL ante game. The reason why we're doing one table of 10 NL ante game is because I was trying out WPT Gold. I just wanted to deposit $50 and see what the hype is all about. During that stretch, we had a peak high of 200 or so. So that was great. One table. In that one table time frame, that was took a lot of patience to play one table, but it's okay. Then I had this huge downswing. Luckily for me, and I think this is the point in the channel, the history of this channel, where we got lucky in a sense. First of all, we got lucky in a sense because WPT Gold is available in our state, so we can play it, which is wonderful. But at this point, WPT Gold added 2NL to their site. So we switched to 2NL. And this stretch of hands here, see this little linear progression, following this linear regression line to a T, was 2NL ante-game. And at this point, we went to the ACR site when we're around 500 in the 2NL. And we transferred over back to 10NL ante about right here, around 622 is when we started. And then we had a nice little upswing, like we said. Then we had that huge buy-in. We lost all those buy-ins, around 20 buy-ins at that point, like we just showed on the previous spreadsheet. And we fall back, and huge swing down. So we're back down to below 591 as of what date is that? 428. So 428, and that's around the May 1st time period. We're kind of just refocusing. We're what can we do here? And that's when I decided to try that tactic of the focusing on the A-game play streaks. And so since that point, had a nice little rise up in the bankroll steadily. In these little small dips, as you can see, if I'm having a bad session where I'm making mistakes or whatever, I'm cutting the losses a little faster. I'm like I said in my little note, lose better, lose faster. And I'm trying to preserve the bankroll. So one of the strategies of the Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger mental models is to rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. And preserving capital is the thing here. So when we lose, we want to lose a lot more, so we can kind of stay at a baseline layer of our bankroll. And here at this point, I'm not saying that, just to be honest, you know, I like this channel is to just me to document my journey. And who knows, maybe I'm going to stay at 20 NL ante for a while before I get to 50 NL. I know I'm going to get to 50 NL one day. But you have to have that mindset of it's going to happen one day. And sometimes, like, I'm not saying I'm going to be a CEO or I'm similar to these CEOs, but they're sometimes delusional in a sense, in a good way, to be highly successful in their business and their decisions, and that helps them drive them to success. So you have to have this confidence in this almost delusional confidence that you're going to be successful. So in my first blog video, I made a statement where I said, "Here's we're gonna basically have millions of dollars one day," and I still have that mindset. Honestly, that's my goal, is just to get better every single day. And I'm gonna play 20 NL ante moving forward, and I'm gonna get better because the game's gonna be harder, and I have to adjust the pool, and I have to make the best decisions possible to preserve my bankroll at a certain point, and to improve my bankroll to get to the next stakes. So, so like I said, these losses were a lot less, in a sense, on the lower end. Now, this was a nice sun run, like I said. I'm going to be transparent. I had lots of. Let's go back to the data here. But look at these session results since May. So yeah, so I had these nice streaks of A game play, but you can see, so I still lost some buy-ins. Like, even though I'm consistent, I still lost some buy-ins. Now this 0.5 mistake, like this could have $27 if it was a true error. I could have been closer, like a negative $18, something like that. So that's how those errors can affect my play. I'm not saying the whole $27 was a mistake. It means a huge portion of that. Maybe there was an $8 mistake and a $5 mistake in there. But you can see here, you know, like 1-2 buy-ins at a time. Like, it's nothing crazy. But then we see a $50 buy-in in an hour. Another $60, close to $60, 6 buy-ins here. Another 4 buy-in, and then a couple buy-ins here. So another thing too is playing deep stack poker has been helpful in this last couple sessions. I forgot to mention that. And this is going to be a long video, guys, and it's all kind of a little bit data nerdy, but this is kind of the stuff I like, and I like talking about this kind of stuff. But another thing I did was I'm playing a little bit more deep stack. Previously, I have a conservative nature and a risk-averse nature, where if I double up, I would just bank my double up and to just rebuy in for 100 bigs and just keep doing that. And that helps the bankroll go up, of course, but it can harm it because deep stack poker can help exponentially grow these session results here. And I think that had something to do with it for sure, with these totals going up. But that's just my hypothesis. I need some more data to confirm that. But because, right, if you buy in for 100 and you have 200 bigs or 250 bigs, your limit on the top is your 250 to 300 bigs if you have a nice session. But you're still only buying for the $10, so the maximum you can lose is the 100 bigs. So it kind of makes sense, like if you think about it intuitively like that, at least to me, that's what makes sense. And that's something Dave123 also suggested too, is he loves deep stack play, and I'm gonna do that moving forward as well. Now, probably I'm gonna be a nit, honestly, on the 20 NL ante game, at least till I understand the pool dynamics. I probably will, you know, this is the way I'm going to think about it, is if I have some double ups, might bank those double ups, because this is going to be, basically I'm putting 4 tables of $20, which is $80 of risk an hour. And if I lose 20 buy-ins at 20 and L, that's like 40% of my bankroll. And those are big swings. So until I get comfortable with those sizes, you know, looking back at this maybe a couple years in the future, you know, I might think, well, I'm just this concerned about these $20 buy-ins, but you know, at this point, it's the bankroll, right? We put in $50. We don't want to have to redeposit $50. We just want to have this go up forever. We want to be one of those one-time depositors stories, honestly. That's my motivation as well. You know, it's pretty cool. But and I do have some notes here. So let me just check my notes and see what I wanted to cover in this breakdown video. I wanted to go over the graphs. I talked about some of the mental model approaches. And what else? I covered up pretty much everything at this point. But I did want to talk about my experience playing WPT Gold. WPT Gold is a US-based site. Most people watching this video are probably in US. Maybe some of you are international. Comment below, I guess, what country you're from if you want to. So it's a mixture of players. But I think in order to get through this to this point, I can only speak for the stakes I played, 10 and L anti-game and 2 and L anti-game. But you just have to be disciplined, and you have to just put in the effort and put in the time. I put a lot of time in playing 2 and L anti-game, 1 2-cent blinds, right, to get up to the $622 that we started with the 10 and L anti-game. And then once you get to that, it was interesting because I was risking $8, 4 tables, right, of 2 and L at a time. And then once I went to the 10 and L anti-game, was not just another jump for 5 and L anti-game, it was 2 stakes higher of an anti-game or deep stack game. So I was risking now $40 an hour. That was 5 times more than the previous stake. And now we're gonna risk $80 an hour, which is 2 times more. So it's a little bit smaller of a jump than the 5 to the 10 and L anti-game. So it's more of a reasonable, but again, it's a deep stack game. So, you know, then you get to a point with 10 and L anti-game where the blinds are, you know, 5-10 cents at a time. You know, the pots do exponentially grow. So you have to really be focused at every decision point just to make the bankroll grow up or so. But putting in the time and effort, that's something called stick with itness. Is I am one of those people that in Dave 123, when he was giving my coaching session, that's one of the things he told me was he said you're paying for coaching while you're playing $2 at a time, basically. So it makes more sense to move up to get the value for the money you're investing in the coaching, that kind of thing, which to me, that gave me the catalyst to move up. It made sense. I mean, why would I devote this time just playing 2 and 0 into game? But my argument was, at that point, was my logic for playing it for a long time was, I wanted to get my errors and mistakes out at the smallest stake possible, at 1 2 cents at a time. The minimal amount of money that you can possibly earn with your decision making, right? Basically, you put 2 cents in a pot and you can win $2 at the end of the day. And that's what you can see here with this slow grow. I'm just gonna cover over what happened in December 214, and then go to see if we can find January. find a January point, right? Oh, right, January. And then we were at, well, this is not, so in January, we got to like 380, 392 or so. So 50 buy-ins or so, a little over 50 buy-ins in a span of 1 month of 1 cent, 2 cents at a time, grinding through it. And again, of course, it's 2-0 anti-game on WPT Gold, so players are more loose. Lots of players going pre-flop all-ins for $2 because they don't really care for the $2. And I was the one that really said, no, I need to really think about these decisions. Up until we get to these, the 10-0 decisions there. Now, actually, I think I still have my 2-0 data. I'm just going to unhide my 2-0 data. 2-0 data. That's in here. So this is the 2-0 from November. And then what I did was I did certain sections of time increments, or I did a new tab, like 15,000 hands at a time. And let's see some of the thoughts here. These are more notes of overcall. So see, I'm still overcalling. Call re-raise. Okay, this is just a note of a variance thing. Non-focus, multi-way pot, overplayed equity, bluffing decisions, check call to pick off bluffs. But as you can see on some of these sessions, so we have, and this is I just did a total bankroll and kind of see how the numbers went up. They're going up slowly, right? So $76, 71, 78, couple days of just slowly going up with the bankroll. This is what it's going to look like. If you have the same win rate I had at that, maybe you have a better win rate than me, but it's going to slowly go up until you reach when you get those bankroll thresholds. But eventually it gets up there. I'm gonna see if I have another one. All right. Well, you probably saw some of this other thing. I'm gonna hide 2-0 thing, but the bankroll graph basically pretty much shows a general picture versus looking at a tabular format. But it was a slow growth. Now, the regression line is, so the way you look at a regression line is each X input of a regression line is a 1 hour session. And so the slope of your regression line is their estimate of where you started from. And I started at $50, but they're saying that the line based off this number, it averages to like they try to make the best fit pattern for the line. So they're assuming that the y-intercept was like 74, but it was 50. But so, and this slope tells you per each X input, it estimates if I followed this line to eternity, I would win about $1.65 an hour, and that's including the 2-0 game. The R squared basically means how confident the data is to its prediction, and it's a 91% confidence, or like a 0.91% confidence in that line. Now, of course, this is recent 10-0 data, and as you can see here, most likely I predict it would go up over time, so this would be lagging towards that. Now, if we look at the 10-0 regression line, at this point we just it was pretty much break even until we started the May data. Big some upswings, huge errors, build it up, huge errors, and we kind of had a break even stretch. But now that last section, we had a huge upswing. So the regression line is a lagging indicator of your success, and also the bankroll win rate is a lagging indicator of your success because it's based off previous information, and you can only play from this point in the future. So whatever you get better at every day, that's how the bankroll improves, and how the regression line would improve after that. And so this one, they're not really confident in this regression line. It's like 0.125, and also the per hour average is like 65 cents. So it's showing that it's a winning average, but we would probably need another 40,000 hands or so for this regression line to show an uptick. And someone on the Discord channel said that to me, it's a decent comment and suggestion. It's like, you shouldn't use regression line on bankroll, which that has some merits as well as that comment. But for me, it was more of a situation where I can see if I'm leading in a certain direction into possibly winning. So I have positive slope, and also the R squared value is how confident that line is, and they're not even confident in their line. Now I can switch this to an exponential line, and pretty much the same here. But if you look at the combined trend line and we make it exponential, based off all the data points, now that's given the recent uptick, but it's showing that it's predicting that this bankroll would grow up that rate if I continued the 10NL anti-game in this mix. Now, I'm going to continue updating this combined bankroll with the 20NL anti-game in my results, but I'm going to do a new tab where it just says 20NL data, where I'm going to have new errors, new win rate, that kind of thing. I'm not going to be really confident in the data until I get about 20,000 hands or so. I know with variance, 20,000 hands is not a lot. However, with clarity and decision making, you can get a pattern of understanding. You can understand the pool in 20,000 hands and see where you can improve. So that amount of time is not enough to show win rate, but it's a good amount of time to understand pool dynamics, pool play, your own decisions, how the stakes are, what you need to do and improve. But I would need another 40,000 hands before I can even decide if I want to move up to 50 NL anti-game. If this site is still available. If not, I'll just go to ACR again and or a different site, maybe Coin Poker or something like that. So it's going to be sites available. Of course, the pool won't be as soft as this one, but that's another lucky point, I guess, to be part of. But she'll play 40,000 hands at the 50 NL bankroll, the 50 NL anti-game, and we want our bankroll to get to $2,000 before we move up. So I think that's a great threshold for 50 NL, about 20. So $2,000, calculator here. So $2,000 divided by $50 buy-ins. That will give us a conservative 40 buy-ins at the next stake up if we got to that point. So we need to get to $2,000 as the threshold for the bankroll. But also we want to play about 40,000 hands and I'm going to follow the same structure as the Ascend Poker bankroll challenge, 40,000 hands at each stake. But you know what? If we have reached the threshold of $2,000 in 30,000 hands or so, maybe we shot take. I remember some suggestions where basically if you have the bankroll threshold, give it a shot. 2 for 3 buy-ins. If you lose, try it again another day. Doesn't matter in the end of the day. This amount of money won't make or break us. However, just trying to do a disciplined approach to the proper structures. Now, I do have a rake back system, which I did talk about in one of the previous videos, where I'm putting some of the bankroll into the rakeback system. And the rakeback system, since WPT Gold doesn't have one, is I'm making one myself. So basically, depositing some portions of the bankroll into an investment account, trying to also practicing Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger mental models for investing as well. But as you can see, we have about $600 or so, 200. About half of this is from the bankroll, but another portion of it is from another video ago. I mentioned that I played 1-2 live a week ago or so, and I had a nice profit. I just put that in the investment bank, the rakeback system, because it doesn't make sense to put that into the bankroll because I didn't earn it online. So that's going to be separate. Who knows? We might play some more live poker in the future. We're not rolled for live for 1-2. Pull up the calculator again. So for 1-2, $200 buy-ins at 40. We need about $8,000 to be comfortably rolled, and who knows? Maybe we'll get there one day. But we'll probably still play. That's fun to play. Maybe we'll take the $200 to make money out of the bankroll in the future, but we're not rolled. So that's what this is. The market's not going great right now. However, we're just going to be patient, including the rakeback system as well. And rule number 1, don't lose money. And we are $1 or so ahead, so we haven't lost money yet, but we'll see what happens. And as we make more profit, we'll, of course, deposit more money in the rakeback system as well, moving forward. So, and I think that is everything I wanted to cover here, this video. I'm just going to go back and look at my notes and see if there's anything I wanted to talk about, but I think that's all. So thanks for watching the journey. We are very happy we got that $1,000 threshold, and we're happy that we can move up to try out the 20 Ante. So this is technically up to this point is chapter 1, I guess, in our journey. 20 blogs, I guess, at about 3 weeks in intervals of our check-in points. But chapter 2, I guess, is just get the $2,000. That's a good chapter 2, $2,000. That's pretty has a nice ring to it. But let's look forward. So if you haven't watched any of those previous videos, go ahead, check them out. Kind of shows you our previous thought process in our evolution, and continue watching the future videos to see some of those thought process that we have. In future videos, I'm going to give more breakdown of my thoughts and decisions. So I'm going to be telling you what I think about at every decision point in the hand. Just so also if you're watching the video and you want to give some advice, if you're playing these 20 NL, 25 NL stakes, or 50 NL for a higher player, and maybe you're a crusher and you're watching this video and you like watching someone's journey from the beginning, like you experienced yourself, kind of brings back memories, gives some tips and advice. But in order to have a better plan for me to improve, I need to give you my full thought process on the decisions. So help me find errors in my decision points, and maybe I'm not thinking about a spot clear enough. And to comment on the video, let's have a discussion. Of course, you can check out the Discord, which is on, I'm probably going to put a comment in here, but it's also in the YouTube profile with my Discord link. And that shows you a full breakdown of the process from the beginning and my thoughts in written form, and more elaborate than this high-level summary video. I say high level because the Discord blog is really more precise thoughts and suggestions and strategies as well. So check that out if you want to join that and stay up to date, because I may not post a video for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, but on Discord sometimes I do it like check in like one and a half weeks, that kind of thing, give you more up to date. But anyway, yeah, so great milestone here. But got to put it behind us and move on to the next milestone. So we'll celebrate this victory for now, but done with chapter 1, and we're gonna move on to chapter 2. But you know, like the video. If you want to subscribe, follow the content in the future. If you want to do neither, it's fine. This channel is basically for me to document, but if I can help in any way or show you if I can provide any value for free to see the whole process and the thoughts, you know, check it out. But anyway, that's enough talking or yapping, as they say, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.